Hello and welcome back. My name is Tuxedo Ian, and we are getting back into our playthrough of Book of Hours. We have just finished up with springtime and we are going into summer. So we have a couple more rooms to advance, and let's see what kind of weather we're going to get for our first day of summer. We're going to get some sunshine. Okay, we might be able to do something with that. And we have a gift from Dr. Blackwood. A package from Dr. Serena Blackwood, who once also served as librarian here. Librarian, I remember very well how remote Brankrug is from the world. In Alexandria, I have both a telegraph office and more company than I can easily stand. You will, I think, make better use of this than I. Best wishes, Serena. So while that is processing, we also have an affair. What's happening in the world beyond Brankrug? What visitors will the season bring? We'll either draw a new incident, find a suitable visitor for the current incident, or retire the current incident if there are no visitors left for it. And Dr. Blackwood has sent us a writing case. A sturdy, brass-cornered writing case which has been of service to at least 3 librarians of the house. Use your writing case in a desk with ink to invite visitors to a salon. To invite villagers, add your writing case as a discussion subject when you visit them in Brankrug. So right now, the only address that we have is one for Dr. Serena Blackwood at the Cecil Hotel in Alexandria. And now we get to see the effects of one of the other mods that I have installed here, which will tell us what sort of incidents the visitor will be interested in and what sort of food and drink they will prefer. Just as a little note to help us from having to write everything down. So we'll go ahead and collect that. And while our incident is processing, let's see what we have to work with here. Well, we need 6 forge or 6 sky for this room. We need 5 lantern or 5 rose, 5 forge or 5 lantern, 4 grail, 5 knock, 5 nectar or 5 winter, 3 heart or 3 nectar, and 4 edge or 4 nectar. But this is also a seasonal change, so instead of the miners, which were present at the Sweet Bones for spring, we now have traveling barbers, which offer moth and a little bit of rose. Well, right now, I don't think 1 rose is going to do much, nor 2 moth. If we could find 3, we have 2 more with our fet. We need to find 1 more, and we could use the barber to open up the dimly lit chamber. We also could, if we could find some Faust, we would be able to hire Reverend Timothy to help us out with that. But for right now, we're kind of stuck with what we have. So let's see what we can get. And let's see who's coming to visit. I think for now... Let's see, do we have a book we can read with any of this? 6 sky, 4 moth. Okay, I'll put that one we've read, so I'll put that up in our red pile. 6 edge, 4 scale, 6 edge, 6 lantern, 8 lantern, 4 nectar, 4 winter, or 6 forge. We could read Lady Eva's Repose, but I don't think we need the rhyme and remembrance lessons just yet. We have 1 nectar from the health and 2 nectar from the bronze knife. Plus, we have, and this I will use as an example of how exactly this paradise palm is useful. So we will use our tryst to investigate this object. We will not use it up or consume it by doing this. That will take us 30 seconds. One other thing we could do is we could do some gathering here. So we can actually use one of our core to help with that. The gardens of Hush House hold plants with many virtues to those with the wisdom to recognize them. And we can use our coil and chasm to dig, and a corner of something metallic is protruding from the soil. So let's investigate and see what that is. Developments in the world beyond Brandcrook, drawing a new incident. The affair of the forgivable debt. Like many criminal enterprises, reckoners offer loans to the desperate and unwary. But reckoners can offer loans not only of cash, but of allotted years of life. They usually keep a low profile, but now 2 reckoner mobs have gone to war in the unremarkable Lithuanian city of Kaunas. Why? What's in Kaunas? Visitors with an interest in moon or edge mysteries will want to talk about this. And our visitor is Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore, retired. Hero, pilgrim, traitor. He'll always be a soldier, but never again can he be only a soldier. He has interest in lantern and interest in edge, plus he understands Sabazine, a language that we do not know. He also knows Latin and Aramaic. And if we ever invite him to a salon, he prefers lantern food and lantern drink. So we'll go ahead and let him come aboard and see what we can do for him. So this incident is going to be looking for moon or edge books. Luckily enough, we have an edge book, and it's written in Latin, which fortunately Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore is able to read. Good day to you. May I come in? So we can add the incident. I have a contract in Kaunas, Librarian, for the Reckoner War. Which side? Does it matter? Try a book with as much mystery edge as their edge interest. So we can hand him the High Traditions of the Noble Endeavor. Reckoners. You shoot 'em, they go down, they get up. Stolen years soak up a bullet or two, but it's not a new problem. There'll be ways around it. Frankly, Librarian, I'm hoping I don't have to shoot anyone, but if I do, I know now what to shoot 'em with. So we'll let him get done with that. And from our Paradise Palm, we have learned, once these grew only on one tiny island on the other side of the world. That's Empire for you. Has given us a memory of scent. Oh, and we've managed to recover some of our Faust by investigating this. So what we can do, we can go ahead and investigate that Faust and recover that. And while that is, and then once that has processed, we will be able to read De Horis Book 1, because we now have 4 nectar available. And let's see here. For now, I think we'll use our whist to catalog this baronial book, baronial periods, 1500s to 1700s, and see what it can teach us. And right now, since those are working, we'll go ahead and we will throw our metal at the Sweet Bones and get some fixing and mending done. There's not much work on offer in Brandcrook, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. We have recovered a piece of Faust. Sight, perception, inspiration, all of the glory's gifts, which gives us some lantern and some sky. Now, we can take De Horis Book 1 here. We can add our health. We can add memory of scent. And we still need our skill. We still need our skill back, so we'll have to wait until we finish harvesting with Coil and Chasm to get that back. And then we'll be able to do our reading. Until then, let's see, what else can we do? So I think what we're going to do, we're going to call on Reverend Timothy. Actually, we're going to need that. So we'll use our shap to speak with Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea, and he'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. Okay. So put our shilling in there. We do appreciate the contribution. And the book we have cataloged is Sunrise Awakenings, an uncategoristically poignant meditation by the edgelong Tyrug of Marionid, who later came to Hush House under a variety of other names, often in search of some kind of fight. Has 4 lantern, and would teach us the topic of auroral contemplations. To know what will pass in what has passed, the practitioners of this discipline see endings and beginnings, passages and transitions in the same mode as dawn and sunset. Well, as we notice, we also have another book that would teach us auroral contemplations, so this would give us a way to read that one by getting us started with the skill, since this one needs 8 lantern for us to read it. So what we can do, we can just actually go ahead. Well, we're going to need our Foss to talk to Reverend Timothy, so we'll hold off on that for the moment. We do appreciate the contribution, and we now have the Rector's assistance. And since Lieutenant Moore is almost done reading that book, and he has departed, and he has given us his card and a bronze spintria. Occult treasures are purchased with occult coins, spintriae. Bronze spintriae usually display the act of shaping on their reverse side. So that gives us 2 tally worth of value. And now we find the other use of our writing case. We can come to the desk here, put our writing case in, and add Arthur Moore's card. We can note down his address for what you might call an occult correspondence. Arthur Moore's address, care of the Endeavour Club, Park Place, London. And as before, we notice that he is interested in lantern and edge books and affairs, and he prefers lantern food and drink. So we can note that down. But will they come when you do call for them? And this gives us an occult scrap, which gives us 2 knock, 2 moth, and 2 rose, and the ability to evolve something via horomakistry. Now while this is a memory, it is also persistent, which means it'll stay around until we use it or until a certain time of year comes around. But we don't have to worry about that for just now. We might have use for that extra knock or moth for something. So now that we're done talking with the lieutenant, we can speak with Reverend Timothy and collaborate with our Faust. Together we will be watchful. We are almost done harvesting here. Once again, here's the key to Hush House, half buried in the garden. So the key we will put back on the mantelpiece here in the Keeper's Lodge. We may need it later. It also gives 3 knock and 3 winter, which we may be useful for reading something that's heavy on knock or heavy on winter. And now that that has concluded, we can grab our DeHorace, we can use our health, we can use Coil and Chasm. Oh. Oh, Coil and Chasm only has 1 nectar. Well, we can still attempt this and see, because we do have something that can give us extra. So we might as well attempt it and see if we can read it. As they used to say in my youth, the day is done, and so am I, but I've earned my pay. A little more 6 pence that we can use to recover some of our... So we will recover our whist. We might need Mr. Kill's help later. During summer. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese in nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. We'll go ahead and let that process. And we will also speak with Reverend Timothy about the weather, which will give him the 6th lantern that is necessary to open up this dimly lit chamber. Alright, so Reverend Timothy is now taking advantage of the weather. Now, we could also talk with Reverend Timothy to try and get some more memories out of him, but he has this slight problem, as you may have noticed in his text. He loves to talk. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brankrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Whereas every other assistant only takes 30 seconds to process a conversation, the rector, because he simply loves to talk, takes 45 seconds. So we will just use him to go ahead and open up this dimly lit chamber. Van Loren's old protections hang heavy in the air here, clotting the air with shadows. I'll need counter-influences to unwind them. And we'll go ahead and get that started. And the smoking room, we don't really have another source of forge at the moment. We have our metal, but that would only get him up to 2, get Denzel up to 2 if we hired him. So for now, we will just wait until we get our whist back and we can get Mr. Kill for tomorrow. And now we get to see the opportunity aspect of things. There's still a chance that we can read this book. We have 2 opportunities to add an extra effort of soul, but we don't have another health right now, so that really isn't going to help us much. We also have the chance to get a duende. Duende is a force, not a labor, a struggle, not a thought. This mood increases certain aspects. The duende will give us 2 points in several different aspects, and if one of them is nectar, it will be able to finish reading the book. Otherwise, we will just have to try and read it again another day. Better now. Well, since we do have this, we might be able to make use of some of those lessons, especially since they are available to us. So we will go ahead and put in Whist and Inks of Containment. I can master this mystery enough winter to match Mystery Winter. Or, actually a thought occurs, and instead of that, because we do have this Memory of Hindsight available. So what we will do instead, we will use our Whist and we will catalog this last book here using this desk. And we could apply another element of the soul, but we don't have anything that gives us nectar because health is the only thing that does that. There's still a chance. So actually what we can do is we can take Lady Eva's Repose, and we can add our Memory Hindsight and Inks of Containment, and use our core to read this book, because that gives us our 4 winter that we had. We'll go ahead and get that started. We have found 2 wombs, 1 heart. A fanciful account by Thirza Blake of the early life of the twins, their time as mortals before they became hours, or even long, in a dry kingdom beyond the western sea, which Thirza suggests might have been ancient Mexico. It has a mystery of 8 heart, which we are quite a ways away from achieving right now, Also, it is written in a language we do not know, Kilisimi, a woven language. Once we are able to decode it, it will tell us information on the subject of stitching and binding. Nothing is entirely broken nor entirely whole, not so long as we have our needles. So we'll go ahead and put that on our to-read shelf. Oop. And let's see if this duende will give us the necessary nectar to read this book. And Reverend Timothy has finished opening that room. And yes, the duende has given us two grail, 2 nectar, and 2 scale. So, actually, 2 heart, I think it is. So, grail, heart, and nectar. But it has allowed us to read this book, and our nectar has become full flower. We will now be able to finish reading this book as soon as this timer completes. And the new room we have opened is... We have opened the reading room. Visitors were usually permitted this far into the house and no further. In the days when the librarians commanded the services of the fine-takers, visitors were sometimes even left unsupervised. So we have a new writing desk, the reading room. This bookshelf is a DeWolf heirloom, a gift to Ava DeWolf from her admirer, the adept Franklin Bancroft. The desk and lectern are much more recent. Steel plaques on both read, "To Gervinus Van Loren, in gratitude for his assistance in the closing of the winding stair. E. Abney Hastings, Nocturnal Secretary, 1928. We also have a pot of Veiled Goddess Lapchang Suchong, which has Sky and Forge. It's also a restorative, which we may be able to use later to do various things. We also have a cup of Lapsang Suchong. We have a pot of Houndsgall ink. Books written in Houndsgall are more likely to return to their owner, or one whom they have been legitimately sold, an ink of containment. We've also found a quire of paper, creamy smooth, eagerly awaiting ink. We have some furniture, a grand reading armchair, nestle grandly. A moon footstool, a soft gold glimmer in the half-light. An imposing reading armchair, nestle imposingly. And another moon footstool. And as you can see, we also have a wealth of uncatalogued books. We have 3 books from the Nocturnal period, 4 books from the Curia period, 4 books from the Baronial period, 5 books from the Solar period, and 3 books from the Dawn period. We also have found a watchful candle, a little portable clarity, which gives us some lantern. And over here we have one more piece, a reading lamp, to ensure clarity of vision even in utmost dark. It does flicker occasionally. So that will give us something that we can do with our various rings. Plus it gives us a new desk that has heart, lantern, moon, and sky available. So we'll be able to use that to read another book or catalog books using our core at the very least. And also our Faust if we really wanted to, and the Trist. I've mastered this and gathered the lessons it contained. Just as a reminder, De Horus Book 1, an occasionally coherent catalog of the secret gods organized by hour. This is a reprint, but in the original Latin. This volume deals mostly with the hours of the wood, the moth, the black flax, the ring yew, among others. The glory is a question, and the moth always answers yes. We can file this in our red books for the moment. And we have got Memory Impulse from it, and a lesson on Rights of the Roots. So before we go any farther, we can stick this here, and we will note that it gives us Memory Impulse. And we can use our lesson on Rights of the Roots to obtain a new skill, which will give us Moth and Nectar skill. So in the future, reading Nectar books will be a little easier. As you can probably tell, this is a main Nectar skill because it has a green icon, whereas Coil and Chasm is partial Nectar, but it's mainly scale, as indicated by a brown icon. Not all the skills have that same color coordination, but most of them do. We continue reading the other book. And we have attained another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms, Rights of the Roots, which gives us 1 moth and 2 nectar. The oldest hours are the gods from blood, who rose from sacrifice. That blood was always spilt on the roots, and the rites of its spilling are still remembered. And since we have a little bit of time left in the day and we still have our FET, we will go ahead and... not what I wanted to do. We will go ahead and catalog a Nocturnal Period book and see what we can find. And then we will probably call it a day because we don't have anything we can really do with this moth memory. Although it is... let's see, are we able to preserve that one? No, because we can't do moth or nectar in our bed that we occupy. This book should finish cataloging just before dawn. It does. I have an idea of the book's nature and its contents. From History to Eternity, a contraband manual of the inks of revelation. The author explains in a brief foreword that she is a high-ranking officer of an agency of the duties, and that, though she supports its mission, she has concerns about the long-term consequences of its work. Has a mystery of Moth 10, so we're quite a ways away from that now, even with our skills that give us some moth. And it will teach us about the inks of revelation, the inks in which the histories are revealed. And with that, the day comes to a close. We've exhausted all of our soul fragments. We're still reading this one book over here, but we will go ahead and call it a day for now. Thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed what you've been watching, please leave a like or a comment below, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me.